Oh, here. Lori Cordesker. Here. Shannon Wade. Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. The first order of business is calendar item 1, noting the minutes of the meetings of the Board of Retirement held on October 22nd, 2019 and November 12th, 2019. The minutes have been previously provided to the board via the SharePoint site. May I have a motion to consider the minutes from the October 22nd and November 12th board meetings? Thank you, Shannon, a second. Thank you, Vanessa. Please raise your hand if you vote to approve the minutes. Any abstentions? Noted. What? Sorry? Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Vote carries. Next on the agenda is the Executive Director's update. Sandy, would you like to share any remarks with us?
Very short. I distributed monthly reports to trustees. If anyone has any comments on that, questions about that, please contact me. Especially on the detail in the data package. I haven't decided whether you want to see that all the time, but happy to share it. 2 announcements on events. On December 13th, we have the holiday party for staff in Brooklyn at Marco Polo. If you're interested in that, we welcome your attendance. And then on 12/16 at 55 Water, we will be having a Drucker Management Leadership training program for staff. It's all day, 9 to 5. If you're interested in attending, please let me know. Drucker Institute is kind of my choice for management consulting and advice, and for anyone who's interested, I think his books on leadership and management are required reading, especially The Effective Executive. So that's it for me.
2 questions. Where are we in the audit process? I know TRS just done a presentation remarks in it, and secondly, are we participating in the CM benchmarking?
CEM benchmarking, this will be our 3rd year to participate in CEM benchmarking. We can make sure that the CEM benchmarking reports from previous 2 years are available on the SharePoint site. I think they are. Yeah, so you can have access to those.
So that's been completed, and next month they will be making the presentation of the report.
Next one.
Yeah, we haven't received our management letter yet, but we will get the management letter and then we'll make a presentation to the board.
In May, in terms of CEM, just more last minute on CEM.
So we're on a spring cycle here.
Well, as soon as we get the data, we supply it to them, and then basically they have to wait till everyone responds in the cohort group. So that's generally the delay is other reporting.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Sandy. The next items on this evening's agenda are calendar items 2 through 17, the ordinary business of BERS. Is there a motion to consider calendar items 2 through 17? Thank you, Deb. Second. Thank you, Vanessa. Shannon, can you please tell us about the ordinary business of BERS? Sharon, excuse me.
These are all of the retirements, refunds, and death benefits calculated since the last time the board met.
Thank you, Sharon. We will now vote on these items. Please raise your hand if you vote to approve calendar items 2 through 17. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Vote carries. See, you should be reading this. The next item on our agenda is calendar item 18, amendment to the authority and procedure of the Disability Committee of the Board of Education Retirement System. Can I have a motion to consider, please? Thank you, Vanessa. Second, thank you, Natalie. The resolution is being presented to allow for greater flexibility with regard to meetings of the Disability Committee. Are there any questions from the board?
Would you like me to describe the proposal?
I think that would be a good idea.
We are proposing 5 members of the Disability Committee constituted of any individual of the 2 union elected representatives, the CFO or her designee, and 2 PEP members. We have been having a problem getting a quorum for that meeting, and the intention is to limit the population to 5 so that we can trigger meetings with 3 attendees. And that would be a reduction of 2 members from the currently approved 7-member disability. And then just to facilitate having meetings. We've had difficulty, and we've got a large caseload.
Delay really leads to a bad outcome for individuals on the receiving end of the decision, obviously. So I think this makes sense, and that vote ultimately comes back to the board. My understanding, correct?
Yes, correct. means there are 2 open seats in the Disability Committee for PEC members. If you'd like to be considered and like to be involved, please let me know.
Wait, I'm sorry. You said, say that again?
You have to volunteer.
So wait, so
You have to be a
so
PEC
you're
member and
saying
volunteer.
that the,
The original members are no longer.
Yes, the original members are no longer
oh, we're
volunteers.
hired?
We're asking. Well, I would rather consider it you're being rehired. How's that?
Okay.
Janelle, would you like to do it?
Sure.
Thank you very much for volunteering. Would anyone else like to volunteer?
I don't mind, it's just scheduling is always an issue. That's-
I think,
Well,
You got me as a backup.
I think that's good. If those are our 2 volunteers, I'm more than happy with that.
I mean, I guess our goal is to have quorum, so if you're not sure of your schedule,
If someone else would like to volunteer, we can bring it up later.
I mean, as a backup, I know that sometimes it's hard to pay as much advance notice as possible.
Well, why don't we,
And I think Peter, right?
I mean, he was really good. I don't know how his schedule is, but Peter was good. Every time I was there, he was
He
there.
was always there.
Okay,
Huh?
I'll
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
reduce
Never
it
mind.
to 5 so that we quorum it.
we can get quorum. Yeah, we can
How
quorum.
often do you meet?
We pretty much need to meet once a month
Once a month.
for a couple of hours. And we probably have a 4 or 5 hour backlog.
I got to speak first, it's more so like, to your point, the more advanced it's easy to schedule around. But anything that's within a week, for me, it's a shock that you
Because if you don't meet, you delay the member
Right.
to retire.
Yes.
So if it's pushed back, they can't retire some of them, waiting for us to get paid.
So in the future, what will we do to catch up? Will we schedule 2 meetings?
Probably,
Okay.
probably.
So is there a sense of higher December right now to definitely meet?
But that's our intent.
So maybe, I mean, it's offered, if we can get some potential dates out.
We'll probably do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll send out a doodle. Is that what it is? Yeah.
So in the same vein of meetings, when is the executive?
I've never attended a meeting in my knowledge, I'm working
We've never called.
Oh, okay.
We've never called a
Don't worry, we're
meeting.
not meeting without you.
No problem.
The executive committee was formed as a way to get representation at the SIM. And
Oh, well, that's
it's been
okay.
hard to execute.
Gotcha.
It's been hard to execute.
Okay.
We have like other ideas.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah,
That's coming up.
yeah. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is calendar item 19, authorization of the controller of the city of New York to invest, sell, and exchange the funds in the retirement system. Can I have a motion to consider? Shannon, second. Thank you, Deb. As you know, every quarter we authorize the controller to invest funds on our behalf. This resolution would extend the authorization through the end of March 2020. Are there any questions from the board? All right, let's vote. All in favor? Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, the vote carries. The next items on the agenda are the investment items that should be in executive session. Can I have a motion to enter executive session? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Deb. Let's vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The vote carries. Sharon, can you report out on the board's actions in executive session, please?
During executive session, the board voted to approve the following items. Calendar item 21, authorization to the controller to proceed with the public equity annual implementation plan. Calendar item 22, authorization to the controller to proceed with the public fixed income annual implementation plan. Calendar item 23, authorization to the controller to proceed with the alternative credit annual implementation plan. Calendar item 24, authorization to the controller to commit a portion of the real assets portfolio. Calendar item 25, authorization to the controller to commit a portion of the real assets portfolio. Calendar item 26, authorization to the controller to proceed with the private equity annual implementation plan. Calendar item 27, authorization to the controller to proceed with the real estate annual implementation plan. And calendar item 28, authorization to the controller to proceed with the infrastructure annual implementation plan. The board did not approve calendar controller to commit a portion of the real assets portfolio.
Thank you. The final item on this evening's agenda is a discussion regarding our investment policy statement. Can I have a motion to discuss, please? Thank you, Deb. Second. Thank you, Vanessa. Antonio.
I should have divided it into two parts to make sure we have time. And in particular, I wanted Mike to have a chance to talk about a critical portion of our policy, which is asset allocation. Just to give you a big an update, you all have a copy of our kind of draft revision of the investment policy in the body. Coming out of the July 31st to the trustee training and discussion, the team and give Elise, Cody, and Sean a lot of credit, worked diligently on really kind of getting the investment policy to a portion where we thought it was ready for you all's kind of input. We will be continuing having this discussion with something that comes to a full package to the board by January. By the end of January, it has something to vote on. We are now currently working on the appendices with Siegel Marco for mandate, thinking about mandates, thinking about which sections don't need to be touched, which sections we need to have full rewrites, and which ones just need to have edits. But let's say the current document is up for you all review, as the body is, and so we'll welcome all of your comments because this will be priority number one for the team from now until January. I wanted to take this because asset allocation is such a critical portion and will be part of the investment policy statement. I was actually hoping that Michael Wright could talk a bit about where we are with asset allocation, some of those other.
I have a question on the timing. So I just want to clarify, you're suggesting that we are making a vote on the investment policy statement at the January panel? Or the January?
So I've got two different calendar dates for the January meeting. I've got one that was the 15th and one that says in the 20s. It was the one that was after our board offsite that I thought we were coming out of that.
Both of those are prior to the BERS annual conference.
Oh, okay. Okay. In that case, it would be asked for February then?
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful because I was hoping we could have a healthy discussion at the annual conference and then.
Oh, yeah, that's in February.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Russell gave a lot of excellent comments.
So I will say, for those of us who are in the Baruch class, Isaac, Michael, Russ, and we were spending a lot of time learning about what should be in an investment policy statement and what some of the overarching, best practices and all of that. So we really, in real time, are learning a lot, and so I think we want to bring that to bear. So I will personally pledge to increasing and you should do.
Sure. So the asset allocation study, just 1 minute background, was really started back in May of this year. We met over the summer with all the consultants from all the systems and with the Bureau of Asset Management. The key driver in those kind of meetings were to set what the underlying assumptions would be. So how much we all expected stocks would do, bonds would do, private equity, private real estate, all the asset classes, how they would perform. And we really have a 30-year horizon when we do that. We look at 10 and 20, and we concentrate a lot on the 20s and 30s. So it's really a long-term perspective. I'm sure you heard me say before, I'm sure if you're going to trustee class, you're hearing that asset allocation is the primary driver of what the ultimate risk and return of this fund will be. Think about that on the equity side, where we largely index our public equity. So we expect to get the market, that's what we want to get. And the reason we index it is so we can do it at a very low fee. Since, I'd say August, when we submitted each of the consultants submitted their initial allocation recommendations to the comptroller, it's really been an iterative process where we go back and forth. Tony touched on a couple of these. Our real interest from BAM's perspective, or from the BERS perspective, quite honestly, didn't always line up with what BAM wanted. One, we wanted to expand our private asset classes, especially in fixed income. One of the concerns that we had, and it ties both the ranges, which I'll discuss in a second, but also the overall asset mix and allocation to fixed income. You may remember that 2 years ago, Bureau of Asset Management wanted to extend duration on the portfolio, and then they wanted to shorten duration because they felt that rates were going to first fall a lot and then rise a lot. Some of the other systems were looking at hedging some of the portion of their retiree liability by having more fixed income. We pretty much got that call wrong. so it cost money with some of the moves they did. So we decided, as part of this, we wanted to commit to some other things other than publicly traded fixed income securities, specifically opportunistic fixed income. And we also wanted to make sure that we used kind of the historical fixed income goal that Board of Ed had used, which was this 4+5, a very, very broad-based bond index. So pushing for that has been a big issue. You might know because we see some of the reporting now, which I think we've all found confusing, and we're going to address as part of the investment policy statement, that the Bureau of Asset Management started to look at the portfolio in terms of inflation protection, real assets or private assets, and then growth portfolio. That's not the way our original policy was set up. So we're starting to monitoring that wasn't exactly the way we were looking at our portfolio. We pushed back and said, we're not doing that anymore. We're coming up with our own investment policy statement to correct that. The other, and this really ties to the comment on ranges, one of the reasons we really need the ranges expanded, quite honestly, especially around fixed income and equity, you didn't hear it so much on the privates, we want to raise our allocation to private equity and private fixed income and infrastructure. And what would happen if there was a large downdraft in the U.S. equity market, when we have this tight little range, we'd have to rebalance into the things we don't necessarily want to go to. We'd rather ride through the cycle. We're a long-term investor, ride through the equity cycle and capture the returns coming out of the cycle, like we did in 2008. So pushing on those kind of allocations to increase our private equity exposure, and real estate and infrastructure exposure, first thing we run into is, I'm sure you've also heard, the infamous basket clause, which the state mandates and restricts the amount that we can put in those illiquid asset classes. Probably was a brilliant idea in the late 80s or early 90s when they put it in, and it's one of those dinosaurs that I know they've tried to get rid of and haven't, but all the systems bump up against that. Some have done it, some have tried to address that by putting a little more in fixed income, being kind of more conservative on that portion to take a little more risk with their equity portfolio. We want to hold the course that's really had the best long-term return for Board of Ed, which is take as much as we can, put it into private equity, private real estate, and infrastructure, cut back on U.S. equities to get rid of some of the volatility. That's pretty much where we are now. I'd say we're 90% done. We sent at the last SIM, ordered my cadet, gave our last allocation. They're looking at it. They're going to give us a presentation, but we'll meet the January kind of full discussion at our off-site meeting. That was our intention. So glad to answer any questions. And as Antonio said, that is the core, probably one of the first 3 paragraphs of the policy statement is going to be our asset allocation and those ranges.
And one other thing I'll just add to Mike in talking about the monitoring, and that's one of the reasons that we toured NEXA as a platform, both to give reporting to you all that looks like that reports you how we see the world or how we allocate it. And I think the issue we've run into in some of the other reporting is that it was changed to reflect it reflects the way that we don't allocate assets, and we've never allocated assets. And I think this is not something that's come up just in our recent conversation. These have been conversations ongoing back prior to I think some of the other difficulties that we've had. So that's one of the reasons that we can customize how we look at it to what best meets the way that the report needs to work.
Like, have you seen the other funds' predictions?
We kind of share all our allocations as we're going on. We're really on the same side as the NICERS and teachers. Well, a little less on the teachers. NICERS really doesn't like hedge funds, really cut back on that long duration allocation in fixed income, and is pushing more for